بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين على مر الأيام والليالي والشهور والسنين أما بعد. As we continue on this evening, Wednesday, 7:38 p.m. Now I think it's the 15th of February, if I'm not mistaken. The 15th of February, the year 2023, according to the Gregorian calendar, which agrees on the Islamic date, or rather the Islamic taqweem or al-tarikh al-hijri al-Islami. Well, the Islamic calendar or the Islamic date is currently now the 25th of Rajab, but technically it's Thursday evening, the year 1444, after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. We were explaining the statement of the great Imam from Ahl Sunnah Abu Abdullah Muhammad bin Abdullah ibn Abi Zamanin rahimahullah, from the ulama of Qurtubah in his time. Your father Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah rahimahullah was conveying his statement from his book entitled Usul al-Sunnah by the great Imam Ibn Abi Zamanin. You'll find that we were discussing the matter, we were in the midst of discussing the affair of the hijab, of the word hijab or hujub. Hujub. Well, hujub is the plural form for hijab. Hijab is the singular, and hujub is plural. As you'll find, we do have the narrations, and the authentic narrations which comes in the authentic sunnah of the hijab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having the hijab of light. And some narration says fire. Light or fire. And we know that the hijab of Allah, like we said, is a nur. How do we know that? From the authentic narrations. And from the authentic narrations of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is what occurred on that miraculous night, or that night where that great miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had taken place. Which was when, everyone? The time of what they call Qissat al-Isra wal-Mi'raj. The time when the Messenger of Allah ascended. Ascended where? First, he journeyed from Mecca to Quds, which is in Palestine, and Bayt al-Maqdis, which is in Masjid al-Aqsa, where Masjid al-Aqsa is located in Palestine. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala return it back to the hands of the Muslims. Ameen. You'll find that the Messenger of Allah that night journeyed from Mecca to Masjid al-Aqsa, where we know that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam prayed with the prophets. He led the prayer with the prophets in a manner and Allah knows best of the kayfiyah. Then you'll find that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, he journeyed to where no man or any human being has journeyed, which is above the heavens. The Messenger of Allah ascended. This hadith, everyone, of the Qissat al-Isra wal-Mi'raj is from the most clearest of evidences that Allah is above. From the most clearest of evidences that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above. You'll find that this narration has reached the highest extent of authenticity, where no one can deny it. To the point where you'll find that the people of falsehood, that they use this hadith in order to commit an act of evil, based upon the fact that that they affirmed the hadith. But what's the evil that they commit? You'll find that they celebrate it. They celebrate the night of the so-called, or they celebrate the event, of when the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam journeyed above the heavens. So you'll find the hadith of which they so call, they affirm in order to commit an evil based upon it. The point of the matter is they affirm that the Messenger of Allah ascended above. That's the point of the matter. The Messenger of Allah والسلام, ascended above. And these are from the Abyan وَأَوْضَحِ الَّدِلَّةِ عَلَى ذَلك. This is from the most clearest evidences indicating that. The Messenger of Allah والسلام, just to be brief, the Messenger of Allah والسلام, journeyed where no human being has been, to actually ascend to where our Lord is, above the heavens, which is something tremendous, to actually hear Allah's voice. In addition, to journey to the place where no human being has been is from the greatest of miracles, in which, like we said, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ was addressed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in regards to the prayer. And that the affair of the obligation of the prayer was made directly from Allah, without any revelation in regards to it being a middleman, we mean. Like, for example, Jibreel descending with the revelation. However, Allah made this obligation or this legislation directly to the Messenger of Allah. Where it was not, where Jibreel alayhi salam, that affair in this particular revelation was what? Wasn't there. Allah made it an affair that was directly, like we said, addressed to the Messenger of Allah, where the Messenger of Allah not only, like we said, journeyed to where no human being has journeyed, in addition to hearing Allah's voice. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ is also Kalim Allah. The Messenger of Allah is Kalim Allah. He's Habib Allah and he's Khalil Allah. All the awsaf, or the greatest characteristics of the prophets, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had all of them. For example, Prophet Ibrahim, Abu al-Anbiya, alayhi wa ala nabiyyina afdal as-salatu wa tamm at-tasneem, he was called Khalil Allah. Right, everyone? The Messenger of Allah is also Khalil Allah. As we know the hadith which comes in the Sahihain, where the Messenger of Allah ﷺ affirmed him by saying that وَلَوْ كُنْتُ, he said, I have no Khalil. And the Khalil meaning from the human beings. But the Khalil, my Khalil is Ar-Rahman. And he says, وَلَوْ كُنْتُ مُتَّخِذًا خَلِيلًا لَاتَّخَذْتُ أَبَا بَكْرٍ. And if it was someone from the creation that I would have taken as a Khalil, it would have been who? Abu Bakr. But the Khalil of the Messenger of Allah is who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is Khalil Rahman subhanahu jalla sha'nuhu. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu was Khalil Allah, Habib Allah, and he was also Kalim Allah. It wasn't just for Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Prophet Musa was Kalim Allah. Why? Because he heard Allah's voice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to Musa. The Messenger of Allah was also Kalim Allah. Why? Based upon this hadith. The hadith in the Sahihain, where the Messenger of Allah والسلام, journeyed above the heavens and Allah spoke to him directly, establishing the obligation of the prayers in that great miraculous night in which he journeyed, subhanahu, which the Messenger of Allah journeyed, والسلام. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ, when he returned from that great journey, he was asked concerning whether or not he's seen Allah. He was asked concerning, when in his return, did he see Allah? هَلْ رَأَيْتَ رَبَّكَ? The Prophet ﷺ said this, نُورٌ أَنَّا أَرَى. Light, how could I see him? Light, how could I see him? So, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, as we know, seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ru'yatul qalbiyah, the sight from the heart, behind the hijab. Behind the hijab. That's the point of the lesson today. Behind the hijab. Why? Because there's another narration of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Messenger of Allah ﷺ mentioned, it said that hijabuhu ta'allamu, I'm sorry everyone, hijabuhu nur. لو كشفه لأحرقت سبحات وجهه ما انتهى إليه بصره من خلقه. There's an authentic narration also, it's not in here, where the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said that Allah's hijab is light. If Allah removed it, the glorification of His glorified. Meaning the glorification and the greatness and the veneration of His great face, subhanahu, will burn up everything. For everything in which His sight reaches, and we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees what? Everything. So, you'll find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? His hijab is light. Also, the hadith of the great Sahabi, Suhaib al-Rumi. Suhaib al-Rumi. He was from Rome, radiallahu anhu. Suhaib al-Rumi was the one who narrated the hadith about when the inhabitants of paradise have taken their final dwelling places in paradise. When the people of paradise, the inhabitants of it, have taken now, they're what? They become settled in their places of bliss. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us and you from inhabitants of paradise and being from those who dwell in it forever. The point of the hadith, it says here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, هَلْ تُرِيدُونَ شَيْئًا أَزِيدُكُمْ? He said, do you want something that I can increase you in? And they would say, what could we ask that you increase us in? That you saved us from the hellfire, you given us paradise, you made our faces white. To the end of the narration, the hadith of Suhaib al-Rumi says in the end that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove the hijab. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove the hijab. That's the point. That's the point of evidence here. Is it clear, everyone? He says in the narration of the Sahabi, Suhaib al-Rumi, radiallahu anhu, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He removes it, that the people will forget everything they are in of bliss. They will forget everything, subhanAllah. And we know the bliss of paradise is tremendous. From, for example, of never starving again, of never growing old, never feeling pain, never feeling sad, never feeling grief, never feeling remorse or one being hurt over the departing of your loved ones who've died. All those factors are removed in paradise. Never feeling, like we said, in a manner where you have pain in your body anymore, stress. All those matters are removed in paradise from the disgust of the affairs of this dunya. And one will never grow old. The inhabitants of paradise will forget all of that when they see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They'll forget all of that. As Ibn al-Qayyim mentioned in his book entitled Hadi al-Arwah ila Bilad al-Afrah. It's called Hadi al-Arwah, the journey of the souls to the dwelling place of rejoicement. Tremendous book by the great Imam, rahimahullah. In that chapter, like we said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the people of paradise will look above, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove the hijab. And they said they will never have feel of what they are in of bliss more than what they will feel when they gaze upon His face subhanahu wa ta'ala. In addition, that in paradise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we mentioned last class, will change the physical state of the human being. As our human state of how it is in this dunya will not be how it is in the hereafter. And there's numerous evidence to affirm this. Why? Number one, our physical state will be changed where we'll live forever. There will be no more death. So these are all narrations that indicate what, everyone? That the factors of the hereafter or the affairs of the hereafter are what? Changed, different. To the point, like we said, there will be no more sickness, no more affairs of growing old anymore. That shows clearly that the state of the human being will be different. In addition, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have to now allow the human being to be in a physical state where they can endure looking at Allah. Because looking at Allah is an affair that is great to the point, as we said last class, where Prophet Musa fell out unconscious. To let one know that the physical state in this world cannot endure the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it clear, everyone? We said in Surah Al-A'raf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبُّهُ لِلْجَبَلِ جَعَلَهُ دَكًّا وَخَرَّ مُوسَى صَاعِقًا فَلَمَّا أَفَاقَ قَالَ سُبْحَانَكَ تُبْتُ إِلَيْكَ وَأَنَا أَوْلُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. You'll find that Musa, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removed the hijab, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manifested Himself to the mountain, as we know, that Mount Sinai had what? Disintegrated. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it dakka. What does that mean? He made it decimated. And Musa fell out unconscious. These are all the affairs, to go back to the point of what, everyone? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is behind the what? The hijab. Is it clear? If Allah removed it, this would be the affair of everything we just mentioned, that the creation would burn up, or as it comes in the narration, in the story of what happened with Musa, where he met with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that appointed time, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manifested to the mountain, and as it says in the narration, of what we understand. And to Allah belongs the greatest of examples, and it does not resemble the creation. But this just to give an understanding for us, and it does not resemble the human being, that what we will understand, Allah revealed to the mountain of what is a what? Of a fingertip, of what we understand. But it's no resemblance to the creation. And as a result of it, Musa fell out unconscious. To let one know that the physical state of the human being cannot withstand the what? The sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the reason why the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, during the time of Qissat al-Isra al-Mi'raj, he seen Allah, number one, he seen Allah a ru'yatul qalbiyah, a vision of the heart. And it was behind the hijab. It was behind, what everyone? The hijab. Memorize those 2 points. Those are very important. Because when you learn books of Aqidah and study books of Aqidah, as long as you have this khulasa, this summarized thing that I just mentioned to you, all the other affairs will become easy. The Prophet ﷺ did not see Allah with his what? Physical eyes, as they say, al-ru'yat al-basariyah. No. He's seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by what? Al-ru'yat what? Al-qalbiyah. The vision of the heart from behind what, everyone? From behind what? From behind the hijab. From behind the hijab. So, these narrations affirm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the hijab. And that's what the great Imam Ibn Abi Zamani, rahimahullah, had mentioned in his book entitled Usul al-Sunnah. We also know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be seen to any human being in his dunya. Of course, any human being. For the human beings, He will not reveal Himself in this dunya. We just talked about what happened with Musa, Prophet Musa, and the message of Allah ﷺ being the greatest of all prophets and messengers. He seen Allah, but we said it was from behind it was behind the hijab. But all these are narrations to show, as we talked about the Qissat al-Masih al-Dajjal, where it seems as if his release is drawing close. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us refuge from his evil. You'll find that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, the authentic narration in Sunnah Abi Dawood and others, that these narrations affirm to show that this individual, when he's released, he's not your Lord. Why? تَعَلَّمُوا أَنَّهُ لَنْ يَرَى أَحْدٌ مِّنْكُمْ رَبَّهُ حَتَّى يَمُوتَ. So the Messenger of Allah gave us instructions. So when he is released, know that he's not your Lord, based upon this statement here, where he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, learn that none of you will see your Lord until you what? Until you die. No matter how much the Dajjal claims he's your Lord, do not believe him. No matter what trick he comes with, no matter what you'll find of the al-khawariq al-adat, or khawariq al-adat, the affairs that changes the norm of what you see, of what he will bring, that Allah will allow for the creation to be tested by, of what he will bring that may deceive you. Do not believe him. Why? Because none of you will see Allah until what? Until you die. So these claims that you'll find that will come, as we know, the Dajjal will come with all types of what? Trickery. He will come with all types of deception. Rather, he will come with the greatest of deception. In addition, you'll find that the Dajjal will be given decorated speech to allure the creation. To the point, as it says in the narrations, that a believer will come and he thinks he's strong in his iman. That the Dajjal will spin his head and he will spin his mind and come with decorated, allured speech that is so embellished to the point where he'll become from his followers. So not only will he be given al-khawariq lil-adat, those affairs that pierce the norm of those things, in addition to what he will be given of decorated speech to deceive the people. But the Prophet ﷺ said two affairs to know that he's not your Lord. Number one, none of you will see Allah until you die, in order to establish that he's not your Lord. In addition, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ also said something else to teach us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has two eyes, where he said, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ رَبَّكَ لَيْسَ بِأَعْوَرٍ وَأَنَّ الْمَسِيحَ الدَّجَّالِ أَعْوَرَ الْعَيْنَ الْيُمْنَى. So it comes in the narration in Sahih Muslim, where the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said about the Masih Dajjal. He said about him, know that your Lord is not one-eyed. What does that mean? Exactly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has two eyes that befits him subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says the Dajjal is what? He's one-eyed. One of his eyes are what? أَعْوَلَ الْعَيْنَ الْيُمْنَى. His right eye is what? Is totally wiped out. Is blind. So the Dajjal, as we mentioned, is said here in this particular narration, shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, based upon what we understand, that the Messenger of Allah affirmed and said that your Lord is not one-eyed. He's not blind at all. But you'll find that the Dajjal, when he's released, that from his traits to know he's a liar, he's what, everyone? He's one-eyed. You'll find in his narrations in Sahih Muslim that is said about the Antichrist, that is أَعْوَلَ الْعَيْنَ الْيُسْرَى, that he's blind in his left eye. So which one is authentic? That, if we had another lesson, I would talk about. But anyway, just to sum it up, you'll find that they say the narrations that is أَعْوَلَ الْعَيْنَ الْيُمْنَى وَأَعْوَلَ الْعَيْنَ الْيُسْرَى, they gather between both. They say one of his eyes are totally what? Wiped out. His no what? Sight out of it. And his other eye is what? Ma'ib. That his other eye has a defect in it. But he sees out of it. But one of them are what? Totally wiped out. In order to gather between both narrations. Is it clear? So that's how you'll find that they gather between those narrations that are both authentic. So, the Prophet ﷺ in these narrations affirm that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has what everyone has the hijab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has what everyone, what they call the hijab. So let's go down. So the great Imam Ibn Abi Zamani, rahimahullah, he says, فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ عَمَّا يَقُولُ الظَّالِمُونَ عُلُوًا كَبِيرًا. He said, may Allah be raised high above of what the oppressors ascribe to him. A great what? A great high loftiness. The great Imam Ibn Abi Zamani, you'll find from this statement here, what is he saying? He's refuting those who say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere. He's refuting those that we said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what everyone? Everywhere. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in everything. As we know, this is called the aqidah of hulul. Hulul, ha, lam, waw, meen. I'll say it again. Ha, lam, waw. Did I say meen? Lam. Sorry everyone. I'll say it one more time. Ha, lam, waw, lam. Hulul. بضم الحاء. Put a dhamma on the ha. And on the lam after it. Hulul meaning that Allah halla fi kulli shay. that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has become merged with everything. You'll find that they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is halun fi kulli shay. That Allah has merged with everything. He's become halla fi kulli shay. Ittihad is also impermissible. The belief that Allah has become one with everything. Is it clear, everyone? What I'm saying, everyone? He's become one with everything. Ittahada ma'a al-khalq wa ittahada ma'a kulli shay. So you'll find that those type of beliefs that the great Imam Ibn Abi Zamanin is refuting. Why? Because it is a dangerous belief. And this is a dangerous type of what? Rhetoric. This is a dangerous type of belief and speech. Rather, you'll find today that those who are upon the way of what they call the Asha'ira, that they claim that they're Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. For what you'll find, for clarifying this type of aqidah that is in clear opposition against what is correct. From those who are considered hululiyin, the people who believe that Allah has become within everything. Or you will say, if you want to say, hulul means that Allah is everywhere. Matter of fact, let me clarify this. Hulul is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere. Hulul. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere, excuse me. Ittihad, or the word ittihad, means ittahada, means to become one with something. Because from the word tawheed, linguistically. Ittahada is just another mushtaqaq or ishtiqaq. It's just another derivative. But ittahada comes from the word wahida, you hear it. So ittihad just means to become unified or one. You'll find from the Sufis who believe in hulul, that Allah is everywhere. And from them who believe what they call ittihad, that He's become one or unified with something. Is it clear? The difference? So you'll find that hulul is that Allah is everywhere. He's everywhere. Ittihad just means that Allah has become one and He merged and became one and unified with that thing. All of it is filthy. All of it is evil. But there is a slight difference between those two beliefs. Your father, the great Muhammad Aman Jami, he did bring this clarification. He said you'll find that hulul is more what? Is more general than ittihad. Hulul is more general than ittihad. Hulul means that Allah is everywhere. But just because He's everywhere does not mean He's become unified with everything. You understand? Whereas ittihad means that He joined and merged and became one with that thing. Is it clear? At the end of the day, all these beliefs are what? All of them are evil. All of them are in opposition to the clear aqidah that the Salaf were upon. You'll find that He said, يَجَعَلُونَ اللَّهَ حَالًا فِي خَلْقِهِ وَفِي كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. So, they believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere and He's in everything. وَهِيَ عَقِيدَةٌ خَطِيرَةٌ عَلِ الْإِيمَانِ. It's a dangerous belief upon one's faith, that a person believes this type of belief. Because one who believes it does not know his Lord. إِنَّمَا يَعْرِفُ الْعَبْدُ رَبَّهُ بِأَنَّهُ فَوْقَهُ. The one who truly knows his Lord is the one who believes that his Lord is above him, and that he invokes his Lord believing He's above him. For that reason, you'll find that all of the servants, as the great Imam, as he says, rahimahullah, that those from the Arabs and the non-Arabs, from the common folk and from those who are learned, all of them, when they invoke Allah and they ask Allah, they believe instinctively that He's above Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. What comes to one mind when they say the word Ya Allah? Do you believe that Allah is within you? Or do you believe Allah is under your feet when you say that? What instinctively comes to your mind is what? That Allah is above you. When you put your jubha or your wedge, your forehead on the floor, when you prostrate, does it come to your mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inside of you? Or that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is under your feet? Or that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the carpet? Or the floor or the ground? وَهَلُمَ جَرَّةً. and so on and so forth. Do you believe that? No. The person instinctively, what comes to the mind is what? Allah, your Lord is above you. Tafaddal. So you'll find that the Prophet ﷺ, all of these affairs, you'll find that the Messenger of Allah said in that narration that we know, which is the time or the occasion of Hajjat al-Wada', the farewell pilgrimage, and that great moment in which the Messenger of Allah clarified the affairs pertaining to the Ummah, pertaining to his followers and those to come, and to teach them of certain matters that were very vital and very important to the Ummah. And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, during that great khutbah, that farewell pilgrim, or that delivery of that sermon that he delivered during the Hajj, his first and his final Hajj, alayhi salatu wasalam, he raised his fingers and he said, "O Allah, testify, O Allah, testify, O Allah, testify." And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, like we said, pointed his finger to the heavens. And this hadith has reached the level of tawatur. This hadith here has reached the level what they call tawatur. Tawatur meaning that an abundant or great number of the companions saw it, heard it with their eyes and their ears, and they all witnessed it without any type of hesitation, and without anything hindering their senses, in which they saw, in which they heard, and what they witnessed. And you'll find that the people of evil and the people of bid'ah, they always make the stipulation that it has to reach the level of tawatur. That has to reach this type of level in order for it to be authentic. Here's the hadith, it's authentic, and it's reached their level that you so-called say is a condition. Do you accept it? No, they don't. Despite of it reaching this high level of authenticity, they still say this wicked belief, from what they say, if you believe that Allah is above and you point towards the heaven, your finger needs to be chopped off. And in addition to some of them even say your hand needs to be chopped off. And if you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above pointing, you are a kafir, disbeliever. You left the fold of Islam. And if you point towards the heavens, not believing that Allah is above, then you're a fasiq. And you just need to have your fingers and your hands chopped off. These are from the affairs you'll find that they say, and that we mentioned this hadith to say, this is the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you say this in regards to the Messenger of Allah? Alhamdulillah. Yahdikum Allahu wa yuslihu balakum. You'll find that in this narration, the Messenger of Allah pointed. So, do you think that it is from what you believe as a Muslim, that the greatest of creation, the greatest of the knowledge of what he knows concerning his Lord, and the greatest of creation of those who knows about his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's the Messenger of Allah, pointed like this, pointed towards the heavens, telling his companions to bear witness, in addition to what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had mentioned about what he said to his companions in that time by saying, "Antum tus'aluna anni yawm al-qiyamah fama antum qa'ilun." You will be asked about me on the day of resurrection. What will you say? It says in the narration, "Nashhadu bi annaka ballaghta wa addayta wa nasahta." He said, we testify that you what? You convey, you advise, and you what? You have carried out that mission in the most complete manner, alayhi salatu wasalam. And the Messenger of Allah upon that says, with his hand, and he beckoned with his hand towards the Sahaba, and he raised it towards the heavens by saying what? "O Allah, testify, O Allah, testify, O Allah, testify." You'll find that there's narrations, brothers and sisters, that the companions during the time of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, on so many narrations and so many occasions, they say, "Kathirun ma kana Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam yarfa'u ra'sahu ila as-sama'." He said there was so many narrations where they said they used to always find the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam raising his head towards the heavens. From them is when he used to what? Leave out the house. Alayhi salatu wasalam. He used to leave out his house, and the Messenger of Allah used to say those supplications, and from them is Allahumma ni a'udhbika an udilla or udalla or uzilla or uzalla or adlima or udlama or ajhala or yujhala alayh. وهو يقول هذا الدعاء وهو يرفع رأسه إلى السماء. They said that the Messenger of Allah used to make this dua when he used to leave the house, and it said that this great beautiful dua that one should make because it's from those du'as, inshallah, that will be a means to protect yourself from the shaitan and the other supplications that will protect you from the devil. But this is from one of them. That the Messenger of Allah said this dua, Allahumma ni a'udhu bika an adilla aw udalla aw uzilla aw uzalla aw adlima aw udlama ajhala yujhala alayh. He said when he said that his head would be what? Looking towards the heavens. They said he would look towards the heavens when he made this dua. What is that affirming, everyone? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above. Also the narrations that the Messenger of Allah gathered with the Sahaba and they waited for the what? For the prayer. The hadith which is Sahih Muslim. When the Messenger of Allah والسلام, talked about when the Sahaba had gathered, or some of them had stayed around for Isha. They wanted to pray along with the Messenger of Allah والسلام. And they stayed around for Isha. And they said, the Messenger of Allah walked in and he smiled. He says, no, you just waiting here for the prayer? Nothing made you to wait except for the prayer? He said, we wanted to pray with you and wait for the prayer. And the Messenger of Allah said, Ahsantum. He said, excellent what you have done. Great what you have done. They said in the hadith that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu he looked and looked up towards the heavens. He looked up. He looked up towards the heavens. So this was something that was habitual in the Messenger of Allah. They said, كَثِيرٌ مَا كَانَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ يَرْفَعْ رَأْسَهُ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ. He said there was a lot when you would find that the Messenger of Allah used to raise his head and look towards the heavens, saying something or making a dua. All these are clear evidences to indicate what, everyone? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above without any type of what? Misconception or any type of misconstruence, as they say, or some type of other way that one can understand. These affairs have been clearly established. The hadith says in Sahih Muslim, he said about the companions, he said that, that the stars are the what? Amadatun lis-sama. He said that the stars are the what? He said they are the protectors of the heavens. Meaning that they shoot down the devils. Of course, they're the missiles for the devils. And they have been entrusted towards what? The affairs in the heavens. He says, and my companions are the what? He says, فَإِذَا زَادَتِ السَّمَاء أَتَتِ السَّمَاء تُوعَدْ. As it says in the narration. If the stars go, then it will come to the heavens of what has been promised. And he said that my companions are the what? The trustworthy, protective ones for my ummah. If they go, it will come to my ummah what is promised. Understand, everyone? The point of the narration that I want to go too deep into that. The Messenger of Allah, when he said this particular hadith, he raised his head to the heavens. He looked up. These are all narrations, all clear indications of what, everyone? Of what we established of the aqidah of the ulu of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that a person that now believes that if a person was to point that their finger needs to be cut off, then these affairs, like we said, hasha wa kalla, that it will be applied upon the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he did the exact same thing on the farewell pilgrimage, where that particular hadith has reached the level of tawatur. Tawatur, in which, like we said, the meaning of the word tawatur is that there has to be an abundance of companions that narrated it in order to remove the doubt, which is absolutely what? Incorrect. But upon their so-called qa'idah, upon the principle that they stipulated, they still didn't follow it. Because they didn't accept the what? Narration that the Messenger of Allah said. Despite of it reaching this high level of authenticity, they still rejected it. So you could tell that it's just mere what? Games. It's games and it's following one's desires. Lay down principles that you do not even what? Follow, which we know. The qa'idah, the principle, من أعرض عن الكتاب والسنة فلا بد أن يتناقض. Whoever turns away from the book of Allah and the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah, he has to contradict himself. لا بد يقع في التناقض. They have to fall into contradictions. And whoever follows the guidance and other than those two sources of great guidance, rather the greatest of all guidance, especially those who follow the books of the Ash'ariyah, where they went astray and they led others astray. And whoever follows guidance in the most greatest of all beliefs, rather the greatest of all affairs, which is aqidah, you'll find clearly that a person will most definitely, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expose their contradictions. في كل بحث فيما جاء به رسول الله وخصوصا في هذا الباب الخطير. Bab al-Iman al-Khabari billah, especially from the most greatest of all knowledge and at the same time the most dangerous. What is that, everyone? The belief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His names and His attributes. Allah will most definitely expose anyone who deviates in this particular affair and make their contradictions known. Because this knowledge is a knowledge that is considered for the greatest of all knowledge, in which clarity has to be made, and Allah will expose the one who what? Contradicts himself or opposes Allah in this affair. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's what we mentioned. It said that the Messenger of Allah clearly raised his finger towards the heavens, pointing at the heavens, and saying and establishing this belief that Allah is above. What about the person who now says that whoever believes Allah is above, they have left the fold of Islam, even though they what? Raised their finger, and they don't believe this belief. Like we said, these matters are extremely dangerous. If they only knew the magnitude of the danger of this type of what? Speech, they would not have said it. And they will realize that they have judged that the Messenger of Allah fell into kufr. That's what they're basically saying. That the Messenger of Allah fell into kufr, the Messenger of Allah believing Allah is above fell into some type of what? Nonsense such as this. These are the matters, like we said, clear contradictions. Clear what, everyone? Clear contradictions. So that's what we say in this regard, to establish these type of evidences and proofs. The great Imam goes on to say, بِأَنَّهُمْ شَهِدُوا لَهُ بِأَنَّهُ بَلَّغْ وَنَصَحْ وَنَحْنُ نَشْهَدُ مَعَهُمْ أَنَّهُ بَلَّغْ وَنَصَحْ وَنُؤْمِنُ بِهَذِهِ الْإِشَارَةِ نُؤْمِنُ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ فَوْقَ مَخْلُوقَاتِهِ وأنه إنما رفع ليلة الإسراء والمعراج ليقرب من ربه. Just as exactly what we just said in the beginning of the lesson. In order to establish the argument and the proof that the Sahaba witnessed this, that the Messenger of Allah, that he informed and he advised and he carried out his mission in the most complete way, alayhi salatu wasalam. And we also testify with the companions due to the great guidance that Allah sent down and what the Messenger of Allah left of great clarity. In this type of informant and this type of advice that he left for the Ummah, in which brings us to also testify along with those companions that were there. Because how many of us were in darkness, and as a result of it, Allah brought us out of light by this type of what? Guidance and this knowledge that we possess. So we find that this type of ishara, this type of pointing that the Messenger of Allah did, we believe that Allah is above the heavens. And in addition to what we just said, He was raised during the time of that night. And if Allah was not above, why did Angel Jibreel raise the Messenger of Allah to the highest of the heavens? So Angel Jibreel alayhi salam was confused. The angels and the prophets are all incompetent and confused. In addition to even the evil from amongst the jinn, believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above. Why? In order for them to hear some of the khabar, some of the news, in order to deceive the people, they have to go up to hear what was preordained in the heavens from some of the angels. So even the most filthiest and the lowliest of the creation from the jinn believe that Allah is above the heavens. So how these affairs are all confusing? You say that the people of Sunnah are confused. You believe Allah is above the heavens? No. The angels believe Allah is above. The angel Jibreel journeyed and brought the Messenger of Allah above the heavens. In addition to the angels, they used to descend from the heavens. From them is the last time or the end of time where when the angels would descend from the heavens, bringing back Jesus the Son of Mary, where he would descend upon those two angels from above, which is all indications that what? All these affairs are conducted from above us. So those matters are all what? Clear and established. The Messenger of Allah was raised to above the heavens in addition to the ayat. As the ayat, it comes in Surah Al-Ma'arij, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, تَعْرُجُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ 50,000 سَنَةً فَاصْبِرْ صَبْرًا جَمِيلًا. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, He says that the angels and Angel Jibreel ascends to Him in a time frame that we understand of the creation of 50,000 years. Where is this great distance? Where is these years? All these are matters that are clear and what? indicating that those matters are what? Are clearly established that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above. So we'll stop here, inshallah. Any questions about the lesson, anyone? Then you'll find that the great Imam Abu Abdullah, Muhammad bin Abdullah ibn Abi Zamani, rahimahullah, al-Andalusi. He was from Andalus, but we know he settled in Cordoba. After he talked about this affair of refuting those who believe that Allah is in everything, or that Allah has become united with the creation, or the creation has become united with Him, wal-'iyadhu billah, he starts to speak about the matters of dissension. This will be the final class for this week, everybody. Next week, because I have to travel tomorrow. So just to remind everyone, the rest of the class for myself will stop temporarily just for this week and we'll resume next week. So it's no class tomorrow, inshallah, just to clarify to everyone. So we'll resume next Wednesday, inshallah. Any questions about the lesson? Is everything clear? وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وأشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's cool, cheater.
I met a person, a Muslim, and we had a talk, and I explained to him Allah descends to the lowest heaven.
That's exactly who's going to start. That's exactly who's going to start.
So he tells me, oh, Allah moves, huh? I think he moves in a way that's befitting to him, not like us.
With the word,
I was wrong.
With the word move, that's something we will have to dissect. First of all, we don't say Allah yanqul or yantaqil. We don't say that. You have to start with the word naql, which naql in Arabic means move. First, we don't say that. So that's what you have to break it down. You'll say, first, we don't say Allah moves. We just say how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in His book, because the word naql is from those words that can carry truth or falsehood. So in its origin, we don't use that word. It pertains to Allah. But we just say how Allah has mentioned in His book and in the authentic sunnah, we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends. He descends, and His descension does not resemble the descension of the creation. He descends every night at the third part of the night, in which the Message of Allah has informed, and that hadith has reached the level of tawatur also. That hadith has reached the level of tawatur. It's reached the level where so many companions narrated it. You can't deny its authenticity. And then if you go to the affairs of saying, no, it's not Allah that descends, it's His angels. No, it's not Allah that descends, rather it's His power or His mercy or His commands. All that's refuted. Why? Because you'll find that they say the mercy of Allah, basically saying that it only descends at the third part of the night. That's it. His mercy descends all the time, the night and the day. He's saying that the angels only descend because the hadith bounds or restricts the time to when? The third part of the night, as it says. So, to say that it's His power, you're restricting it to what? Only the third part of the night. So that's rejected. Because Allah's power descends what? All the time. His power upon the creation is upon the creation all the time. And His commands, same thing. His commands descend what? During the day and the night. It's not just the third part of the night. So there's nothing left to say except it's what? It's Allah Himself. It's Allah Himself that descends. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? As far as the affairs of matter of fact, I don't want to open that door yet. There's another affair that I wanted to talk about, but I'll talk about it later, inshallah. But just know, we stop at the narrations. We stop where the Message of Allah stopped. We have to talk to the people when you address them, say you believe Allah descends. We say yes, absolutely. Why? Because the Message of Allah informed us. Isn't He most knowledgeable about our Lord? Absolutely. The hadith also reached the level of tawatur. You can't deny it. And to the denial of that hadith that Allah descends every night is kufr. Why? Because that hadith is authentic. You understand, everyone? Absolutely. But the word naql, that Allah moves, leave it. Don't say it.
All right.
You don't say Allah moves. You just say that Allah descends, and that's it. And just because He descends, does not necessitate that He what? That He mixed with the creation. No. That's by consensus. Allah is not with what? He does not mix with the creation, nor does the creation mix with Him. We'll stop there. Anything else, everyone? Anything else? We'll stop here, inshallah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.